I cry all night in your memories. For every thought of you returns like a wave that never rests. Your laughter echoes through the quiet walls. And my heart softens, even as it breaks. I cry all night in your memories. Because love doesn't live the way people do. It lingers in the scent of rain on the window. In the hush of midnight when the world feels empty. I cry all night in your memories. Tracing the shape of your absence in the dark. My pillow holds the weight of every unspoken word. Every promise that dissolved into silence. I cry all night in your memories. Wishing time could fold itself around the moments we lost. Wishing your hand could find mine again. Before my tears ever learned how to fall. I cry all night in your memories. But still, hope flickers like a fragile candle in the storm. It whispers that love might return in a gentle sunrise. Or in a moment when your heart remembers mine. I cry all night in your memories. Yet each tear is a testament to how deeply I cared. For even in the ache, even in the longing, you remain the softest truth my soul has ever known. I cry all night in your memories. For every corner of this room still carries the echo of your presence. Even the silence feels shaped like your shadow. Filling the space where your heartbeat used to rest. I cry all night in your memories. Because forgetting you would mean forgetting a part of myself. Your love is woven into the threads of my days. And your absence is stitched into every lonely moment. I cry all night in your memories. Watching the darkness stretch into morning light. Each hour drags like an endless season. And every minute feels like the distance between us growing. I cry all night in your memories. For the words I never said and the truths I couldn't hide. If love had been enough to keep you near, my tears would never have learned the taste of regret. I cry all night in your memories. Because even after all this time, my heart refuses to forget. It clings to the softness of your smile. And the warmth of the moments that once felt eternal. I cry all night in your memories. Knowing you walk a path where I can no longer follow. Yet still, I wait in the quiet of my soul. For the day your heart turns back toward mine. I cry all night in your memories. Because every heartbeat feels like a question only your name can answer. My soul wanders through the ruins of our past. Searching for the piece of me that left with you. I cry all night in your memories. For the quiet moments when love felt simple and sure. Before distance became a wall between us. And silence became the only language we shared. I cry all night in your memories. Touching the places where your hands once lived. Your warmth still haunts the air around me. Like a ghost refusing to fade into the dark. I cry all night in your memories. Because the truth is, I still carry you everywhere. In the depth of my sighs, in the tremble of my dreams. In the days that feel heavy with the weight of what we lost. I cry all night in your memories. Hoping that somewhere, somehow, you still feel a spark of us. That maybe your heart aches at the same moments mine does. And remembers the love we were too fragile to keep. I cry all night in your memories. For love this deep does not vanish, it burns quietly inside. A flame you left behind without knowing. Still glowing in the darkness of my breaking heart. I cry all night in your memories. Because every dream begins with your face and ends with your absence. Sleep becomes a place where I lose you again. And waking only reminds me that you're gone. I cry all night in your memories. For the conversations we never finished. The apologies we never spoke. And the love that stayed even when we didn't. I cry all night in your memories. Tracing the outline of a future that never unfolded. The life I imagined with you still breathes in my chest. Even as reality pulls it further away. I cry all night in your memories. Because my heart hasn't learned how to live without yours. It beats with hesitation, with longing, with ache. A rhythm shaped by everything we were. I cry all night in your memories. Hoping the stars hear my quiet prayers for you. Wherever you are, I send every tear like a message. carrying the truth that I still love you in silence. I cry all night in your memories. And though the world moves forward, I remain here, holding the fragments of what once felt eternal, still believing that love this deep never truly ends. I cry all night in your memories, because the night knows the secrets I can't tell anyone else. It watches me unravel in the silence, and gathers my tears like fragile pieces of truth. I cry all night in your memories, for your voice that once soothed every storm in me. Now the storms return louder than ever, because the calm I found in you is gone. I cry all night in your memories, holding your name like a prayer I whisper into the dark, hoping somehow it reaches you, even if only as a faint echo in your heart. I cry all night in your memories, because loving you was the closest I ever came to peace, and losing you was the moment the world stopped feeling like home. I cry all night in your memories, for the moments we shared that still glow inside me, like embers refusing to die, even when the fire is long gone. I cry all night in your memories, yet every tear carries a piece of hope, that one day, somewhere, somehow, your heart will remember mine again. I cry all night in your memories, because there are pieces of you scattered everywhere inside me, pieces that time has tried to wash away, but my heart keeps gathering back like seashells from a broken shore. You taught me how love can turn a quiet life into a living miracle, and how losing that love can feel like the world collapsing softly, not with noise but with an unbearable silence that settles into the deepest parts of the soul. I cry all night in your memories, tracing the outline of what used to be ours. A smile shared between breaths, a promise hidden inside a touch, a lifetime imagined inside a glance. Those moments return to me like waves, not to heal but to remind me how something so beautiful can still ache long after it's gone. I hold on to them even when they cut me, because letting them go would mean letting go of you, and my heart is not ready for that kind of empty. I cry all night in your memories, because my days are filled with echoes of your absence. Every morning carries a coldness, where your warmth once lived. Every night stretches longer, because your voice no longer fills it with meaning. I wake up searching for something I can no longer name. A shadow of hope, a flicker of the past, a whisper of your love drifting through my chest. I cry all night in your memories, listening to the wind outside my window, as if it's carrying some message from you. A forgotten goodbye, a hidden regret, a quiet confession that maybe you miss me too. But the wind returns only with emptiness, and I'm left holding the same old ache, familiar as a wound that refuses to heal. I try to breathe, but even breathing reminds me of how deeply you once lived inside me. I cry all night in your memories, because you are more than a person. You were a feeling, a home, a story my heart was writing long before I found the words. You were the moment everything made sense, and the moment everything fell apart. The way you loved me was gentle, almost like a sweet illusion. You were one of those loves, a once-in-a-lifetime truth, that changed everything, even as it slipped through my fingers. I cry all night in your memories, for the version of us that lived between dreams and reality, where nothing was broken, and everything felt possible. Sometimes I still step into that world, a world where you still call my name, with the softness of someone who never left. But morning comes, and reality takes your place again, leaving my heart holding the weight of everything will never be. I cry all night in your memories, until the stars fade, and the first light touches the horizon. The night has heard all my secrets, all my questions, all the pain I didn't know how to release. And even though the world begins again, I remain here, a soul that loved too deeply, A heart that still remembers. A story still written in your name. I cry all night in your memories. But somewhere in the quiet hours, between heartbreak and dawn, a small part of me learns to breathe again. A part that whispers that loving you was never a mistake. It was a lesson, a gift, a wound, a miracle. And even though it hurts, I carry it with grace. I cry all night in your memories. Because love stays. Not in the way we expect, but in the way the soul understands. And though you are gone, and though the world has moved on, my heart still keeps a place for you. Not as a hope, not as a dream, but as a truth that shaped the person I became.